Hi, everyone. I see so many of you on video. Liesel is here and Sandy is here. Few new ones that I don't know, probably more than majority. John Lauder is here. Good to see you again. Michael, hi, Germany is here. Beautiful to see. Terence is here, South Africa. Yay. Catherine is here. That's US. And Larissa is here. That's Brazil and US combined. Wonderful to see all of you. If this is your very first time, let me turn off the phone. I forgot. If this is your very first time, put in the chat one. If you've been to a Reinvention Academy event before, tell us a little bit of what brought you here, or maybe you're an alumni, maybe you graduated. But if this is the first time you ever join in our event, put one in the chat. First time. Beautiful. So many of you here for the first time. Very warm welcome. And if you have been to our events, put an alumni or lab or somewhere else where you've been with us. So Samantha is a certified reinvention professional, of course. So many CRPs, that's our certified reinvention practitioner, which is a second level. Members of the Global Alliance, beautiful graduates from the Easy Reinvention Lab. Welcome, everyone. I have completely new stuff for you, also because we have a completely upgraded research team that is able to put together some new research and share something with you that we haven't done before. And I might stumble because I am making sense of the news as fast as you are making sense of the news. But I would love to be present with you in the chat and get your full participation, because there's nothing as bad as a boring webinar. And few promises for all of you. Number one, you do not need to pronounce my last name. Number two, I do ask you to check in the chat and give me answers when I'm engaging you with the answers. And number three, there will be a replay available, but for 7 days only. Why 7 days? It's our practice always, because we all have graveyards of videos we promised to watch to ourselves and never did. Who has a graveyard? Just wave. I have a graveyard. I'm not going to contribute to your graveyard. So we will give it for 7 days and then it will be removed. No exceptions. Watch it when you can. We would love for you to get the most out of it. Are we ready to jump in? Good. Give me a plus if you're here, ready to jump in, or thumbs up. Those of you who are on video, it's so beautiful to see so many of you on video. And I'm watching you in gallery view. Of course, I cannot watch 152 people in gallery view, but amazing to see you all on video. So first thing first, what is this session about? As you know, I write for Harvard Business Review and for Forbes, making sense of my experience in different sectors of economy. And my January article for Forbes on the biggest trends in the corporate world has got massive views and feedback and so on. But so many of you wrote to me and said, well, you're in consulting. Why don't you do the same for consulting? Why don't you share your biggest trend in the consulting field? And I thought it would be much more fun to have it in conversation with you rather than write a flat article. And that's how this webinar came about. So I want to share 3 things that I think are making the biggest difference. But before I say anything about reinvention of consulting, we first need to agree on what we mean by reinvention, especially since so many of you here are new. I'm honored you decided to join us, but it means that those of us who've been working in the field of reinvention for many years are probably having a bit of an advantage on the concept of reinvention that's particularly special to Reinvention Academy, and thankfully has been picked up by Accenture, by PricewaterhouseCoopers, and so on. But I'm very clear that we need to say a few words on what reinvention is before we say anything about reinventing the field of consulting and why the old models of consulting are dying and what comes next. Those of you who feel that the old models of consulting are dying, that maybe you are not getting clients as early as you did before, or those of you who are in corporate world, you feel that your company is no longer easily hiring consultants, or those of you who feel like you need to give discounts more, or the same tools are not working anymore, give me a plus in the chat. If you feel like the old models are dying, if you feel like there's more stress in the industry, or you're asked to give more discounts, I see a lot of pluses coming in. So the question for you, how do you have enough of disruption? And I hope that by the end of this hour and a little, we are aiming for 90 minutes, but I hope we will be done with most of it within an hour and then just have a conversation. But I hope by the end of this hour, you will change your relationship with the word of disruption. So what do I mean by that? You all know, this is not news to anyone, that every living system goes through a life cycle. And what is happening in majority of living systems is that a healthy life cycle means that we start at certain level, we grow to the full maturity, and if everything goes right, we decline. You can see this graph when you think about your business model. You can see this graph when you think about your consulting business, your coaching, training business. This is the same graph that goes for your career or for your family or for your physical health. You could do zero push-ups when you are a baby, when you're newborn. You reach some peak of push-ups at a certain age, and then it goes into the decline. But reinvention means that we, in organizational life and in our career, don't have to go into decline. We can start a new cycle and a new cycle indefinitely. So reinvention that we thought of in the 90s and even early 2000s, when we thought about any kind of change in organizational career life, we thought about starting a new S-curve. But here's what majority of people did not understand. What is poorly understood is, what do we need to know to have a successful reinvention? What's the biggest issue, if you will? What is that we need to have absolutely figured out if we want reinvention to be successful? And here, let me bring my notepad. Ooh. I see my background. I'm in a beautiful Sardinia. So let me bring my notepad and ask you, when you're trying to jump, this is in strategy theory called an S curve. So when you're trying, because it's like a letter S moved, when you're trying to reinvent, when you're trying to jump to next S curve, what is the biggest question? If you look through, and you can add in the chat, what do you think is the biggest question? Those of you who've been with us before, please do not answer. Do not give it away. But those of you who are new, what do you think is the biggest question? And I will start with a simple question. The simple question that many corporations start with. And in a management theory for longest time, this was the question, which was why? We even invented a word for that called the burning platform. We need to create a burning platform, a strong why for everyone engaged so they want to change. Then, of course, we went to the question of what? Should we reinvent a product or a process? Should we reinvent our leadership practices or business model? Should we enter a new market or exit a market? Me as a consultant, should I niche out or go wide? This is the what question. Then many of you are absolutely correct. For a while, the biggest question was how. And we developed tons of change management theories. We developed project management methodologies. We then went into Scrum Agile, and we have now a lot of different hows. And then there's some things that you can add about the where. And that is the market positioning, customer base, and all of that. All of those are great questions, but there's one question that absolute majority of people and absolute majority of companies are not answering, and that's a very different question. And it's a question that our graduates gave away immediately, which is the question of when. And this question is so big for the following reason. When we reinvent on a decline, we went into decline and we're already seeing severe losses financially. We see a huge amount of fear. We see a huge paralysis in movement. Research shows, and one of the wonderful books on this point is Stall Point, and my team will put in the chat Harvard Business Review article for you. Catherine, one of our graduates, already added the link to the Stall Points, and the shorter version of that book is a Harvard Business Review article on why reinvent before it's too late. The research shows that if you reinvent on the decline, chances of you coming back to your own peak performance are only 10%. If you reinvent on a decline, whether you're reinventing your consulting business or you're reinventing your corporate client or nonprofit client, if you're reinventing on a decline, it's too late. You're cooked. There is no resource to finance this jump because the existing business model is financing the growth and development of the new business model. But if you reinvent too early, you will kill your company as well because feasibility is not there. We're not ready. Remember, I always repeat that Apple had its first tablet in the 90s. Technologically, they were ready, but the internet penetration was not there. The mass number of coders who create apps for the tablet and for iPhone was not ready. You cannot do it too early and you cannot do it too late. There is this magic opportunity window, and knowing that window and managing that window and aligning around that window becomes the biggest secret of reinvention. And research, as I mentioned, is very, very clear. It's only 10% of companies that reinvent on the decline are able to come back to their own peak. And here we see that majority of companies miss it. And it's a relatively easy slide. Many of you remember the times when Volkswagen was still in the top 10 of the Fortune 500 companies. In 2020, they were number 7. Where's Volkswagen today? You all know there's a massive, massive risk happening right now to the entire automotive sector, especially European, because reinventing on time, knowing when to reinvent is crucial. And surprising thing, companies going out of business or seeing major crisis is not a rare event. Just this century alone, 52% of Fortune 500 companies have already disappeared. So this is a very, very fast churn. So then the question is, do I know my when? Am I already at the peak? Am I beginning to slide and there's a small window opportunity for me to jump the curve? Is it too early? Is it too late? This is the crucial question. And at Reinvention Academy, we wanted to understand this question better. So we started researching if the biggest question of reinvention is when, then how about we jump in and we look at the data and understand on average, how often should we reinvent in business? So this is what we discovered. Looking at the meta studies, we discovered that in the 20th century, absolute majority of business models were very long lasting. You could milk the same cash cow for many, many years with the average business model lasting 75 years. That meant I could graduate from college, enter a corporation, work in that company my entire life, retire from that company and not ever see any major change. You remember those days? If you remember those days, give me a plus in the chat. If you still remember the days where you could be in the same place, doing the same thing. If you remember the times where we could take a budget from last year at 3%, and we have a budget for New Year. If you remember the times when we could have fixed price supply contract, and nobody would worry about the fixed price being inappropriate price and the volatility we have. I see so many pluses. Then something happened, 1989, two things happened. The fall of Berlin Wall is the beginning of the formal globalization, the formalized and truly different level of globalization where we integrated fully into one market. And 1989, the second thing happens, the internet becomes public. And suddenly it's no longer 75 years, it's only 15 years and falling. What do you think this number is today? How often should we reinvent now in 2025? Give me your bet. Give me a number in the chat. So I want to see. So Steven says 5. Ben oh, it's moving so fast. Somebody says 6 months. Somebody says 5 to 7 years. Somebody says 3 years. Somebody says 1.5 years. Zap says 1 to 2 months. Very quickly. I see 3. I see 2 to 3. Well, you're all absolutely correct because, of course, that depends super heavily on your industry. And we do this research every 2 years since 2019, and this is what we discovered. Red is every year or less. Notice, every 5th company in the world or so has been reinventing every 12 months or less, some as often as every few months. We have every 2 to 3 years, 33%, and every 4 to 5 years, 25 almost percent. And then we have extractive industries and monopolies reinventing at the longer cycles. But in consulting business, if you're not reinventing every year at this point or faster, you are probably leaving yourself behind. And at this speed of change, there is the most fundamental shift that happened. If before, in the 90s, early 2000s, reinvention was an event, you do one big jump and then you relax. You do one big project and then you are done. Today, reinvention becomes continuous. You cannot keep up with this speed. Notice, if you put together the first two numbers, more than 50% of all companies in the world, your competitors, your clients, your partners, are reinventing faster than every 3 years. That is a massive speed. You can never keep up with the speed if you think that reinvention is a project. It's a one-time event. Today, reinvention is a skill at the individual level, and at the corporate level, reinvention is the source of competitive advantage and the only strategy that makes a difference. Every other competitive advantage comes and goes, but ability to adapt and reinvent becomes the source of untouchability and protection. So how did I get to reinvention? Now that we agree on what reinvention is and how we think about reinvention, process, not project, skill, not an event, strategy, not a matter of execution, then how did I get to this? Well, quite a few years ago, I was a happy academic, working in executive education only, teaching in beautiful Alpine Business School, until one student who was a CEO of a massive retail company sitting in front of me said, well, it all sounds great, but you've never worked in business, so I almost believe you. And that becomes a starting point for my consulting business. And ever since, combining research and consulting became so important. Yes, Christina, I did speak at TED in Bucharest. That was my TEDx number 4. But I also had the luxury of writing mass amount of theoretical books, honestly, super boring books, with the exception of the Chief Reinvention Officer Handbook. I cannot read those books. This is something you get in academic library. But more importantly, other than theory, I had a chance to enter the corporate world, working as a fractional executive in mining business, ERG, but also working as a consultant to some of the biggest brands in the world, and also working in partnership with some of the most amazing consulting houses in the world, learning from them, occasionally hiring them. I hired McKinsey in the past. I hired Deloitte in the past. I hired BCG in the past, hiring them to be a subcontractor on my project. So this gives me a lot of opportunity to look at theory, a look at practice. And what we discovered is that reinvention is fast becoming the number one source of differentiation in both corporate and consulting world. So Reinvention Academy just celebrated its 10th anniversary. And in this 10 years, we've been able to touch just over 1 million people, to be precise, 1,097,510 people with reinvention fundamentals in 48 countries and 32 industries. And these are the amazing people who help us do research, who help test our new tools, who also test tools from others we recommend. We have recommendations from the best in strategy in Columbia University. We have recommendations with the best In Agile Scrum, we have recommendations with the best in org development, and on and on and on. And this is the most amazing community that helps us understand what is happening in any industry. And today, the question is, what is happening in the consulting industry, and how can we collectively get ready? So here are some of the news that are on top of my mind. News number one, it's very clear that we're seeing new things happening in consulting business. We see global consulting firms disappearing from business, and we see declining revenues in a lot of consulting companies. We see that all the big houses are now cutting jobs, and of course, AI and other forms of automations are now driving that decline, driving that firing spree, which means if you are an independent consultant, you are now facing an army of mid-level, junior to mid-level consultants who just lost their job from McKinsey, BCG, Bain, and many others. And we see more and more companies such as Accenture announcing that they are doing a massive shift with literally 20, 30, 40, 50,000 of jobs planned to be cut in a very, very short period of time. We also see that we are seeing changes, rethinking the way consultant industry is showing up. So instead of working with the high growth consultants, the high growth consulting companies are now moving to a different format. So instead of billing per hour, moving to retainers, moving to licensing, moving to finding a way to make a product out of their consulting services. And we see more and more questions around declining profit margin in this business. So it's very clear that something big is going on, and all the statistics are pointing out that something big is going on. And one of the biggest shifts that I see where consulting industry is not dying is understanding the difference between content and process consulting. So what do I mean? What kind of consulting is dying? Consulting is dying anywhere where we used to do an advice, where we used to give the right answer. So very often we were hired as experts to show up on the doors of the company and tell them what to do, left or right. Increase the product spend, decrease. What's happening in your industry? What's happening in this area? Being the expert was the main competitive advantage. Now the problem is that any expertise we have and any best practice we have and any template we have and any answer we have changes very fast. The answer I give you today changes tomorrow very quickly, and the best practice from one company is not working in another company. So suddenly we need to find a different source or different reason why we're called an expert. I'll give you a story. Many years ago, I was working with, I won't name which company, but one of the big fours. And we left the client together. It was a potential client. And as we sat into the taxi, the partners were talking to each other, and they agreed that they will not take the client because it's just not anything they've done before, and they want to use their best practices, not doing anything new. That is a difference between answers, content consultant, and process consulting. Now, what is the main shift is now we are not entering as people who know the answers, but people who can find and deliver answer faster, cheaper, and with greater impact than ever before. Process consulting is facilitation, is integration, is clarification, it's managing the process as a whole rather than coming in and saying, this is what you should do. I have the answer for you. And more boards that I participate in say, if anyone here pretends that they know exactly what to do, you shouldn't be at the table. Because if you are arrogant enough to think that you know exactly what you do in this industry, in this unique circumstance, understanding all the context, you are detached from reality. So let me hear from you. If you are seeing this trend, content versus process consulting, give me a plus in the chat. Content versus process consulting, are you seeing it here? Yeah, I see a lot of pluses showing up. Now, what kind of consulting do you do most? Process, content, or both? Process, content, or both? I see both. Great. I see both. Many of you are doing process. Some of you are still doing content. So the most important shift that I see why the old industry is dying, the old industry is dying because business finally understood that those simple answers that consulting industry was doing for the long, long time are not working anymore. And fancy PowerPoint doesn't do a thing. You can put that fancy PowerPoint on a shelf. It makes no difference. You can Google any bright idea anymore. Now it's all available. ChatGPT can give you 20 bright ideas. The problem is not a bright idea. It's finding the answer that is uniquely fit for this particular organization. It's aligning the competing priorities. It's managing stakeholder conflicts. It's managing execution. That is the essence of process consulting. Now, that means automatically that you have to change the way you bill, because process consulting is not the most effective way to work if you are billing on hourly basis. Why? Because there's only few of you, and if you're doing a good job process consulting, you will use a lot of your hours, which means you only have very few clients and you cannot clone yourself. So the traditional hourly billing was based on unique advice. Nobody had internet. Nobody had unique knowledge. Nobody had insider information. The big houses like McKinsey and BCG and Deloitte had unique knowledge, golden information. They protected it and saved it like hawks, and therefore could bill massive amount of money for a PowerPoint. Now that you're process consulting and requires many more hours than producing a single PowerPoint, it becomes so important that we don't do hourly billing and we look at other options such as retainers, fractional licensing, your own product, profit sharing, success fee, and many other formats. Otherwise, you're just killing yourself. Selling yourself by the hour is unscalable, exhausting, and it's a model that simply does not work. Second trend. This is no debate. I'm sure you're all on top of it. Of course, AI is replacing a lot of jobs, but it doesn't have to. AI can be either your replacement. If you're offering answers, it's an easy replacement because AI can produce answers faster than you can. Any answer you give, it might be incorrect answer. Your client doesn't know. Your client has no clue that it's incorrect answer. And when we are comparing to very junior consultants, I'm sure you've all been in situations where your partners in consulting are 22 years old, just out of college, who never worked in real business. Those consultants, AI can easily replace. But the issue, of course, is not replacing ourselves with AI. It's enhancing what we do best with AI. So that's the choice consultants are facing today. If you're still in the answers business, AI can offer answers, even if they're incorrect, faster than you are. AI never sleeps, and AI remembers every conversation ever had. There's no human factor there. So they can work with the client and give them at least an illusion of help versus us trying to work on an answer in an old traditional, due diligent, high quality way, but not competing on speed, which is the one issue for business, as we already discussed. Fast answers, even if they're imperfect, versus slow answers, even if they're perfect, you are very, very sure that most clients will use imperfect fast answers to us. So AI is an easy replacement for answers or content consultants, but it's not a replacement for process consultants. It becomes a real friend to process consultants. It becomes a massive advantage to process consultants because we are living in the world. Process consulting automatically means that you need to custom made everything. It's no longer off the shelf. It's no longer a pre-made PowerPoint. Another client of mine got a PowerPoint report from their consulting service that still had logos of the previous client. If ever that happened to you, wave to me. I would love to see if you've ever seen that before. Yeah, Sarah's waving. Banman is waving. Quite a few of you are waving when the previous consultant forgot to change the logo on the report. This is off the shelf. This is a traditional off the shelf consulting. I have existing solutions. I just ship them to you. I have existing training. I just change the name of the company and maybe a couple of words on the proposal. I have existing toolkit. I just deliver it exactly as I did before. I have existing formats. I just give you the same thing. This is what we mean off the shelf. Ready-made boxed solutions off the shelf. We live in a world where my own best practices that worked for me don't work for me anymore, let alone we definitely cannot afford giving off-the-shelf solutions to our clients because unique customers, unique industries, unique organizational realities, unique histories, all of it makes it very difficult to take a solution from one company and just drop it in another. And I'm sure you've seen that before, where something that worked before is not working anymore. But where is AI best at? It's best at mass customization. If now we are saying that the key is going away from shelf solutions to customization, AI is great at that because AI can allow you automating lead generation. AI will help you personalize client outreach. AI can help you enhance market analysis to make it unique just to that company. It can improve decision making. It can optimize content creation. We just did a masterclass in the Global Alliance of Reinvention Professionals on AI, and just showing people how they can optimize content creation. I saw this amazing group of people completely wowed by how quickly they now can generate LinkedIn posts and their authentic, unique voice, not sounding like a machine. So AI is excellent if you apply it to the right place. And the right place is mass customization, not simple answers, not half-baked solutions, but building something unique and customized for your clients. Now, finally, third trend. We live in a world where nobody cares about our degrees anymore. I used to be very proud of my doctorate degree. Right now, very often, the youngsters are laughing and kind of looking at it as a disadvantage, not at all an advantage. We are seeing more and more companies completely deprioritizing any kind of degrees. And a lot of things that used to matter are no longer matters. This news item just killed me the other day that about 25% of Harvard MBAs, about 1/4 of all Harvard MBAs from last year could not find jobs. This was inconceivable just a few years ago, but it is the reality right now. We're living in the world where it doesn't matter if you come from Harvard or you come from Harlem. It really doesn't matter. What matters is what you can deliver. Can you deliver value? Can you be useful immediately? Can you create answers right in the moment? But that also means that suddenly there's a huge opportunity because people like me, look at my last name. Look at my accent. I cannot even pronounce words correctly because I live in 3 different languages and I'm always mixing them up. But I'm able to compete with some of the biggest names in the world in both consulting and education just because I'm able to leverage a power of personal brand. And on LinkedIn today, absolute majority of you are not doing that. Even our graduates, one of our team members recently did an audit of all of our graduates and your LinkedIn profiles. And the answer was, there's work to do. Because a good LinkedIn profile, high quality, well set, with excellent value add content can make and propel you super quickly into real competition. And it doesn't need to be mass number of followers. Just comparison from some of the benchmarks of individuals, not people who have big brands behind them, not completely independent. And you can see even with a small number of followers, you don't need 100,000, you don't need 700,000, such as Justin Walsh. You can have relatively low number of followers, but already lock in quite significant revenues, especially because the threshold is just 10,000 LinkedIn followers. If you have 10,000, you're already in top 1% of LinkedIn automatically. But majority of us have very few number of followers, Majority of us have very, very few posts a month, and majority of us do not use LinkedIn as a sales channel and lose in the process. Good news, LinkedIn allows you, and other forms of social media, wherever you feel most comfortable, allows you to build a brand that can compete with some of the biggest names in the world. And why that works, this is the third trend. The third trend is going away from the idea of traditional competition to the concept of co-opetition. It's a combination of cooperation and competition. And what does co-opetition means? It means working with other fellow consultants to bid on projects together to create that custom solution. It means posting on LinkedIn and supporting each other's posts because our brands get stronger based on the brands that surround us, based on who we follow and who follows us, who we comment on and who comments on our post. This becomes a win-win for all of us when we are cooperating with our competition. And that's why I so love the reinvention community, because we do client projects together. I often outsource my projects to somebody from our graduates because I simply cannot accept a client. I'm already booked. I know many of our graduates are partnering with each other to bid together and do projects together, because co-branding and pulling together unique capabilities becomes such a source of competitive advantage. If you already cooperated with your competition, give me a plus in the chat. If you've ever cooperated with your competition, gives me a plus in the chat. Well, a lot of our graduates started the pluses. I'm glad to see that. And I see many of you putting a plus. If you've never cooperated with your competition, give me a minus in the chat. Cooperating, including social media, cooperating, including joint projects, outsourcing to each other, co-branding together. So I love to see that so many of you in pluses. I'm proud to see that Stephen is the first honest one to say a minus. I want to say that many of us are still very protective of our turf, very protective of our territory. Am I ready to share with my competition? And we've done as far as we stood in front of the graduates of Reinvention Academy and gave step-by-step guide to our pricing. I know those of you who are graduates from Unignorable, you know that we showed every bit of dirty laundry in the past. What was our first pricing? How did we allow ourselves to increase it? What did we do right to increase it? What did we do wrong? Where did we devalue ourselves? Where did we do wrong thing with the discounts? What allowed us to progress? We see such low readiness for transparency around pricing that we see again and again people underpricing themselves because they simply don't have a reference. So we started this massive research on consulting fees to publish to each other, which is anonymous, what are the averages in the regions? What are the formats that are most used in the regions, so that we can give you data-based benchmarks, because it's becoming unbearable to see how many of you are underpricing, how many of you are being secretive where there's no reason to be secretive, and how many of the strong, heart-centered, mission-driven, independent consultants are shooting themselves in the foot because they're afraid of this topic. If you are a little bit touchy-feely, and let's be honest, I will be first one to say I am, about the issue of pricing and how to price yourself and how to be comfortable with the whole financial side and the pricing side. How do I price myself? I feel a little bit like I'm on display right there. Charles is very honest. It turns my stomach. It is for me, Charles, as well. Charles is our certified reinvention practitioner graduate. It's same for me. I'm like, this is the time to talk about pricing. I hate it. This is the time where I need to sell myself. I hate it. That is one of the biggest issue why research shows again and again that we have massive growth of discounts in the last 5 years. We've seen, I don't remember the data right now, but something like 60% of all consultants offer discounts in the 5 years ago, 90% offer discounts now. And my point of view, our research is very conclusive. Most of you are underpricing. Most of you are able to increase prices within just a few weeks. And most of it has nothing to do with your brands or logos or better website or whatever else you think you need. Most of you are saying to yourself, you need another certificate, or you need another degree, or you need a better website, or you need a better logo, or you need a better CV. Some of you are smiling. Maria, I think you're smiling right there. Did I hit the nerve right there? Yeah. Stop it. I'm just going to say right now, stop it. Most of the pricing can be fixed within 3 to 4 weeks, and it has nothing to do with your CV, your website, or anything else. This is the most painful thing for me. Companies that are selling the same PowerPoint from client to client by forgetting to change the logo occasionally are charging 15,000 a day plus of consulting fees, while people who do unique custom-made work that bring their full heart to work, that are making a huge effort, are continuously underpricing themselves. And I would like that to change. I think it's time for customers to start valuing consultants for what we offer. I think it's time for us to change the perception of our industry. I still remember an article from about a year ago from Financial Times reporting that consultants suddenly became the most hated profession, even more than bankers and hookers. It's time for us to change the positioning, guys. This is not okay. But I know that most of the time when I enter the company, most of the time I'm the most hated person in the room. Most of the time I'm perceived as the other one who overprices and delivers nothing. Most of the time I'm not there expected to bring value. What do you think I'm there for? What do you think I'm hired very often? And misunderstood. The bad position of consulting, what would be your guess? The number one reason, it doesn't happen now because we cleaned up our positioning. We're very transparent and our contracting is different. But long time ago, for many years, what was the reason I was hired? To make them change. No, Sandy, I wish they wanted to change. They didn't hire me to change at all, for downsizing, to get rid of jobs. Occasionally that is the case, but because I'm known as a crisis consultant, but it's not even that. Announce the bad news, we're getting close. We're getting close. What I'm there, confirm their position. So just give a check mark that they did their due diligence. We were who knew. No, I was who knew. What else? Have insights from a competition? Yes, for check mark. Sometimes they're hired for that. The most important reason I'm hired for many years, it hasn't happened in the last 5 years because I just refused to be hired for that. When I was young consultant, young and green, the number one reason was not what was in the contract. In the contract, all kind of nice things were written that they want to change and they are ready to change and they're ready to engage and they're committed and a whole bunch of other things. The number one reason for most of my young career was to outsource blame. To outsource blame. And those of you who are still there, put a plus in the chat. If you feel like that's the actual hidden reason why you were hired, give me a plus in the chat. Outsource blame, to be the scapegoat for a failed attempt. And I just showed you statistics. Most companies don't reinvent on time. 52% of Fortune 500 companies already disappeared in just the last 25 years. Most companies slide quickly and not able to reinvent, and they need a scapegoat. And you bet it's not going to be the CEO with their golden parachute. Who they're going to scapegoat? So this is the reality in which we are. We're seeing an industry that relied heavily on consulting by giving the right answers. But the shelf life of the right answers became very short. Remember, the statistics that I shared just a few minutes ago, when we looked at the old system, 20th century, the typical business model, 75 years, that's when you can give the same answer nonstop for 20, 30 years because nothing changes for 75 years. This is where you don't need anyone who helps company change. That's why you outsource that whole function to a big consulting company. But suddenly, when the average became 6, and more than 50% of the companies are reinventing faster than every 3 years, that means business models, products, IT solutions, HR solutions, marketing solutions that worked 3 years ago are relevant today. So you cannot show up with the answers from 3 years ago. They're irrelevant. In some places already illegal because regulation changed. In some places physically impossible because infrastructure changed or supply chain changed. In some places organizationally impossible because the generation changed. So most of the consultants are still stuck in this model. I'm here with the answers. I'm the expert. I have a nice logo and I have a diploma to prove it. And their clients sitting right here. Ooh, I cannot remove the cap from the market. Their clients are sitting right here. In the world that's flying by, 50%, 52% of them are disappearing in a matter of a few decades. Their products are burning. The generational employees are changing. The regulations are moving faster than they can notice. The supply chain conditions are changing. And we show up there with a case study from 2002. No wonder they hate us. No wonder they hate us. Some of you are laughing. I'm glad Christina is laughing. Maria is laughing. Atif is laughing. At least some of you are laughing. That means I'm not giving you only bad news. There's tons of good news. Good news is, if you understand what kind of consulting is needed here, you will be untouchable for a very long time. Because if one thing I know, reinvention, continuous reinvention, is not going away. We're not going to face the disruption anytime soon, less than we're facing today. If anything, this year is the slowest year we will experience in our lifetime. This year is the slowest year we'll experience in a lifetime. Which means if you understand how to be useful here, you will have clients for life and you will not need discounts and you will not need to lie to anyone and you will not need to pretend and you don't need to feel like you're selling your soul. If this resonates, can you give me a plus? I'm glad to see so many pluses. So the question becomes, how can we be the consultants that compete here? How can we be the consultants that understand that content consulting, with the exception of very small number of niches, is no longer relevant? Wherever there is an answer, ChatGPT will provide it faster than you, or Claude, or Gemini, or whatever else. Wherever there is a simple, straightforward answer, AI will provide it faster than you. That means you can no longer compete on answers. It cannot be content consulting. It must be process consulting. Number two, it can no longer be off the shelf. Off the shelf is automatically old news, and old news kills companies. And number three, old idea that we're all competing is irrelevant because we are all cooperating. And if anything, having alliances with each other becomes so important. Michael is here from Germany. Michael Kuster. I remember the conversation he had with one of his clients who asked, we're a global multinational and you're a single consultant here in Germany. Why should we give this contract to you? And he said, well, I'm a member of the Global Alliance of Reinvention Professionals. We're in these countries and we all use the same methodology. So you don't need to hire all of us, but you will use the knowledge and wisdom and resources to all of us. And Michael is smiling and waving. Hi, Michael. That's the spirit, right? That's the approach. If we can be here, then it won't feel like a war every day. And it won't feel like an exhaustion every day. And it won't feel like loneliness, as most of us feel. And most of us here are not from McKinsey. We are independent. We left big corporate, or we left big box consulting because we're exhausted by it. Most of us are independent or small, medium-sized consulting. Give me in the chat what kind of consulting you do. Maybe training, maybe coaching, maybe you're part-time, you have a corporate job and you consult on the side. What kind of consulting do you do? Give me a sense. So go to market, leadership reinvention, leadership advisory, beautiful. But most of you, I assume, are in very, very small sizes, right? It's not big box consulting. You're not part of a massive corporation. Most of us are independent or semi-independent, and we love our freedom, and we love our choices, and we love not needing to accept clients who are jerks, because that's what you get with big box consulting. You have to work with a client no matter what. I once had a client. I sat in a chair, vice chairman of a massive bank system in Europe. I sat in a chair, and during our meeting, he stood on the table and then laid next to me. I kid you not. I've had every kind of clients, and the whole effort of building a new type of business means you have choice. And you don't need to accept clients that your stomach aches when you think about going into that meeting. So I'm glad to see how many of you are in different type of consulting. The question is your consulting fit for this? Is your consulting fit for this? Have you reinvented your model to be much more process savvy? Have you reinvented your consulting offer, your coaching offer, your executive offer, your training offer to be much more custom made, significantly more custom made from every point of touch with your customer? From the point of LinkedIn post to an email or coffee conversation, to a proposal, to every email you ever send. Can you be custom made? Yes, you can with the help of AI. Now it's not as hard. Have you been able to rely on your competition? And what other things can you really improve? Now, good news. When you do this right, there's a lot of growth available. Those of you who are feeling like the industry is dying, it's reinventing, it's not dying. And I'm glad to see that some of the biggest houses are still fighting it. And the last few years have been the years of massive, massive growth in consulting. I'm also happy to see that reinvention continues to be the number one question for the executives. PricewaterhouseCoopers just released its annual CEO report. Over 4,000 global CEOs reported again. And again, reinvention is the number one question. And again, we're seeing beautiful jumps in the industry, which means we have real opportunity. The revenues are there. The demand for reinvention is there. It's just us who need to reinvent ourselves to fulfill that demand. And that's why I'm so excited that so many of you are joining our efforts around reinventing consulting business, so that we are not the hated ones. So we are not written in Financial Times, and we are not cussed by every client and hated and despised by every employee, which starts with finding your own authentic niche, not being like anyone else, which also enhanced by super important AI automation. Those of you who've been to my AI masterclass last week, give us in the chat how relevant that was for you. It's super important that you build scalable revenue streams, and it's more than one revenue stream. So I'm very happy so many of you are now following the different ideas about new revenue streams in consulting that we share with you. I know that I presented my own portfolio. I have 8 different revenue streams right now. I was excited to see yours. I'm super happy to see that so many of you are committed to creating an unignorable brand on social. And I'm even more happy that you are building a system of continuous reinvention, not a one-time event, not an occasional thing you do, not a project, but a system very similar like taking a shower. If we don't take a shower on a regular basis, we begin to stink. Same with our consulting businesses, same with our pricing, same with our negotiation techniques, same with our offers. If we don't wash them off on a regular basis, they begin to stink. And that's why we need a regular system of reinvention. I hope you are not inventing how to take a shower every morning. Same, I hope you're not starting from scratch your reinvention journey. It's a process that gets better and better and more organized and automated. And that's why I am super, super sorry to see so many of us that are not clear what you're worth. Just have no clue what's your worth. How should you price yourself? I'm so, so sorry to see so many of us wasting time on useless tasks that now either AI can do better or shouldn't be even offered because customers are no longer needing them, no longer asking for them. I'm deeply sad how many of you are offering discounts. And I have to say, we've been lucky and blessed to increase our fees year to year. And it's been a huge, huge source of security for us to keep going up with prices and figuring out pricing that customers is happy to pay because we produce financial results and we tie our pricing to financial results. I'm very sorry to see how many consultants are drowning in stress and feel like they're stuck at the starting line. If you are one of those, if one of the statements resonates with you, give me a plus in the chat because I want to send you a lot of good energy. If this sounds like you, because for me, this was a very difficult industry to enter. I was a professor. I was a respected one. I started my consulting business in 2007. This year, it's going to be 18 years in consulting. And when I started, I had no clue what to do. And I was exhausted because in business education, you don't need to sell yourself and you don't need to present yourself. The brand of the school sells you. So I was absolutely exhausted. I would continuously discount myself. I would sit next to a BCG or McKinsey consultant and they would tell me, of course you charge this much. You are equal to us. And I'm like, I'm not charging even 1/10 of what they're charging. So it hurts me to see what's happening with independent consultants. And that's why a year ago, on a parking lot, I kid you not, on a parking lot, something happened. So as you know, in Reinvention Academy, we have faculty members who are our graduates. These are some of the best and the brightest from our graduates. Some of the oldest faculty members are the ones who came from our the earliest programs. And one of them is Gary Graham in South Africa. If you work with Gary, if you love Gary, if you know Gary, give us a yes or thumbs up in the chat. Gary is absolutely amazing, of course, corporate background, but working in his own consulting industry, 3i Consulting, South Africa, working globally, love Gary. So Gary calls me up and I was on the way somewhere with my family. I have a daughter who is just about to turn 21 and my daughter and husband were in the car and Gary calls me and I ask them, can you please step out? You guys go to the, wherever we were, I think it was dinner or something. I will catch up with you. And I'm sitting there another 30 minutes on a parking lot with a phone like this with Gary. And here's what Gary says. He says, I see amazing people in consulting industry, including our own community, our global graduates from Reinvention Academy, and they know their stuff. And they have amazing educational background, and they're masters of their craft, and they understand their work, and they value customers, and they deliver the goods. But when I ask them, do you have a robust cash flow forecast? Most of them don't. And when I ask them about their pricing, they start looking sideways and covering their eyes and never even giving the number. And when I ask them, have you had a high quality jobs to be done customer interview recently? They've never even heard the term jobs to be done. And when I look at what's happening with their business, it's not that they need another certificate or they need another reinvention tool. They need business tools. They need basic business skills and they need to execute it with us. Not a theory, not a lecture. They need somebody to give them a template and show them how to do it and then get into their heads and inspire them to do it. So on that parking lot, Gary and I agreed to run an experiment. And that's how Unignorable was born. We started building this 8-week bootcamp for consultants and coaches. And we had some people who joined from corporate environment who wanted to see the insights of consulting, to hear some of the most experienced consultants and see if they even want to go in that career. So it's a low risk test run of, do I want to be in consulting industry, by spending 8 weeks with a bunch of amazing consultants from all over the world in very different industries, in marketing and IT, in leadership, in sales, in strategy, in transformation, individual consulting, individual coaching, and so on and so forth. So for 8 weeks, we meet every Monday. We give one tool. We try to stick to one tool. Occasionally, we have a temptation to give you 2 tools. But we give you a cash flow template the first week. and work with you on overcoming your inner mindset issues around money. I was born into a country which thought money is the root of all evil. So I share my story overcoming. We give you exercises how to overcome. And the second week, we follow up and give you a little bit more support. We give you finance, pricing, product development and customer work, and of course, marketing and sales, so that by the end of 8 weeks, you are able to get to a completely different level of consulting. And I'm so happy to see that just by the end of the program, and sometimes as fast as first 3-4 weeks, we have people who are able to increase their fees immediately. So Wouter was able to raise his fee by 50% using the tools and exercise we've done. Liesel, who is here, doubled her daily rate for a repeat client. And I know, Liesel, since then you've had many, many, many more successes. So I would love to hear in the chat what's up with Liesel's fees. I know some of them are kind of going through the roof. We have other graduates who were able to really bring a different level in their consulting offers and reduce the amount of work while increasing the revenue streams. All of this comes from the fact that we are helping you do a few things right. One is to AI-proof your consulting. Use AI whenever you can use AI in the most amazing way so that you don't need to waste your time on tasks that are really automatable. We also share with you new revenue models. So I present 8 revenue models I use and kind of make sense in a 3D model using 3 different dimensions of how I think about my diversified portfolio of revenue streams. Gary offers his, and everyone in the team offers, everyone participants share their revenue models. We also offer you a playbook on reinventing and repositioning yourself as a premium consultant. We also make sure that you are in touch with your fellow graduates in a kind of club way. So we pair you up with others to do coffees, to see the insights. We do brainstorm sessions with each other. We present to each other products and give feedback to each other so that we can solidify our offers by the end of bootcamp. And of course, many of our graduates are able to share leads and create new consulting opportunities for themselves. We do mass number of live Q&A. This is not a lecture. This is a lot of this is just roll up your sleeves, get your cash flow ready, develop your new product, test your new name, test your positioning, improve your interviews, and on and on and on. So it's very much engaged in life experience. We give you templates. So we love to share templates. You just fill up, plug and play. You don't need to develop your own templates. Why? We already developed them. And of course, we are speaking about social media and marketing in our 4th module. So it's very important that you have a content plan and you know how to develop your own content. And on top of everything is heavy, heavy use of AI. I will come back to it in a second. Both Gary and I are there most of the weeks as both of us. Couple of times we will bring some of our graduates as well so that they can share their insights. Our interest is to create a global network. Our interest is to reposition our whole community and make sure our industry gets a much better reputation. And I want to make sure that we practice what we preach. And this is very much a co-opetition, competitors working together and cooperating so that we can become much stronger. Now, this means you're joining our global community. Our goal is very simple: 1 billion people with strong reinvention skills. But before we reinvent our clients, wouldn't it be amazing if we reinvented ourselves and invested in ourselves and giving ourselves the strength? That's why we want to give you everything possible that you need to be successful. And as promised, a little bit more on AI. Those of you who enroll in the Unignorable Bootcamp in the next 24 hours, we will make sure that you get our biggest toolkit around AI and a full masterclass. This is something that you can use immediately, no tech skills required. We want to give you step-by-step solutions. We want to show you hands-on demos, immediate demos right there, and make sure that you save time as much as possible using AI. Now, This is only the beginning. All of the sessions stay with you lifetime. And as bonus, you get access to all of the previous cohorts. So if you're bored and you want to watch what others talked about a year ago or half a year ago, you have lifetime of replays from all the previous cohorts as well. Step-by-step exercises and templates, live community chat so that you can always get feedback. You can always ask, I'm proposing to my client today, just record a video on the phone. Here, guys, I'm facing a new client. Here's my proposal, but I don't know how to price it. Or here you go, guys. I'm doing this offer. I don't know if I'm using the right tool. So what would you use or what would you offer? We literally ask each other, what would you do? We also offer accountability partner for each one of you. We buddy you up so that you have a buddy for all 8 weeks, and those relationships stay for a long, long time. I know some of our graduates actually went to see each other in other countries because they have strong, strong connections. All recordings stay, so this is a replay for life. Those of you who are asking, is it recorded? Yes, and all of the replays are available for lifetime, including with all templates. And we are excited to offer our introductory price, as we piloted it a year ago and seen wonderful results. We didn't feel like we want to increase the price yet, but this is the last time we're offering it, $790, 8 weeks live with recordings. You can miss the sessions and join us. All sessions happen on Mondays at 1 p.m. Eastern, but you can do exercises afterwards and join us in the chat. We also offer 2 monthly payments of $415. As always, we offer lifetime access. And as always, you have 14 days, 100% money back guarantee. If you don't feel like it in the process, if you start and you feel like it's not for you, you can always drop out. No questions asked, no bad feelings. We understand completely life changes. Module-wise, module number 1, first 2 weeks, finance. Our biggest thing is to face our fear around money, get very clear about cash flow forecasting and why cash flow beats P&L all the time. Module 2, product. Developing the right product, working with your customers, using the data from the field, using the jobs to be done methodology correctly, doing the work so that you develop a product that your customers actually need, not something you invented in your head. That's module 2. Module 3, pricing. Very important. Benchmark research on pricing. Walking you step by step our own pricing journey. Completely naked, no stone unturned. Anything you want to ask us about pricing negotiations that we faced, anything you want to know. And finally, we stop with marketing and sales. So this is the program. Would love to see you there with 0 risks whatsoever. 100% money back guarantee the first 2 weeks. And absolutely, you will get an AI masterclass when you enroll in the next 24 hours. Again, $790 for 1 pay, 2 payments of $415, and all of those wonderful sources are there. Now, there are many questions, so let me go through the chat and answer the questions. Christina is asking, when does the program begin? Excellent question. Somebody will put it in the chat. It starts on Monday, February 24th. Monday, February 24th, and then every Monday, 1 p.m. Eastern for 8 weeks. Now, what we want to do, we want to make sure you are not overwhelmed. So every week, we try to give you 1, maximum 2 tools, and you just use that week to complete it. So most people are able to keep up with the pace and get to price increase by about 3rd or 4th week. That's our goal. Maximum by the end of the bootcamp, you should increase your prices. And that's our number 1 commitment, to make sure that you are jumping in with a commitment that you are no longer going to discount yourself, that you're no longer going to apologize for asking your fee, that you're no longer going to feel bad about negotiating, that you no longer feel unsure about your product, that you no longer feel stressed out of your mind doing minutiae tasks that should be automated. That's our commitment. We can reclaim this industry, but we need to roll up our sleeves and do things. So this is not study for a week. It's use one template, fill out, get over the inner resistance, looking at some hard questions around money and so on, but we'll help you with that. I share my story as transparently as I can. And that's the same with Gary. We are as transparent as we can. I have big mindset issues around money. I have big mindset issues around negotiations. I share how I manage it. We give you tools, others share their solutions, and we find a way forward. Can you participate in just 2 live sessions? We actually had people who are on another part of the world, I think Malaysia, and they participated in no live sessions, just recordings every week, but they would use our chat. We use Telegram for a chat. They would, I think Telegram, team, correct me if it's not Telegram now. And we actually communicated inside the Telegram. So they would ask a video or audio question, and I would answer with a video or audio during the week. So you would not ever miss anything, even if you cannot do that. Jeanette says, is there another session later? We do not plan any more big courses until fall 2025. I'm taking a sabbatical from May to September. And I have a massive consulting client, just to give you a reference. And since we're already starting the nakedness conversation, let me be very proud of the big milestone in our consulting business. And for that, I want to thank also our head of partnerships, Olga Viligurska, because for the first time ever in our consulting business, we crossed the fee of $35,000 per day. And that happened because we've been working very steadily to increase our fees. So for the first time ever, we have a client who bought many days at 35,000 a day. And that's also why there will be no courses that I will teach until fall 2025. So Jeanette, no plan for the summer, but yes, most likely in the fall. Christina is asking which platform we use for community management. As Veronica's gave you answer here, it's Kajabi for where recordings are and all the templates and PowerPoint slides. And that's what you have for life, and Telegram for daily communications. Gretchen, yes. Anti-DI, diversity, equity, and inclusion environment. It's absolutely crucial that you reinvent your approach. Good news, in the Unignorable program, what we do is we give you a 2-week exercise on product reinvention, and you go do interviews with your customers, and we give you step-by-step template how to interview your customers so they don't lie to you. And they actually give you answers that help you develop a new product and adapt when the environment becomes different. As right now, everyone who is in DI field is suffering a lot, of course. Let me see what else is here. Yes, 35,000 a day. We've been at 15,000 a day for quite a few years now. And this is our first year, massive year. And Olga is a big reason that happened, that we signed a contract for many days. I don't even remember how many days at 35K. Yeah, but we didn't start there. So during the pricing module, I'll show you where we started, with what kind of fees we started. And believe me, they were barely approaching 1,000. I think we first were at hundreds in our first official fee. And the journey will tell you what increased our fee. What exactly did we do to increase the fee from one milestone to another? Some of it at the beginning, you will be shocked because it has nothing to do with your brand. It has nothing to do with your LinkedIn. It has nothing. You will be shocked how easy it is to increase your fee. And absolute majority of our graduates were able to increase their fee, as Liesel, as Wouter, as so many others. So on the website, you will see stories of others, and absolute majority increase. Would the boot camp benefit me as an AI consultant? It would benefit you if you want to be AI consultant, especially to consultants for sure, because you will know what consultants need. The surprising thing is that we most misunderstand how to apply AI to the specific job. So what our masterclass will be about is, in the job of consultant, coach, and trainer, where do you need AI and where you should stop using AI, especially because the newest research suggests that AI is probably not the best if you're just searching for answers. And I will say more on the masterclass as well. I love the AI ethics consultant. That's a good positioning. I would love to see how you develop that positioning with very clear presence and the products around it. What kind of products? That would be amazing. Let's see what else. What else? Janet is coming to the Reinvention Summit in April. Yay! We're hosting a massive, massive summit, and I'm one of the co-founders and co-owners of the Reinvention Summit globally. We have it in Dublin, Ireland at the end of April, and amazing partners are coming together in both industry, like Patagonia, and consulting business, such as Accenture. So I'm happy to see, Janet, that you're joining us. Okay, Gretchen says, is this relevant if the situation of almost starting from scratch with sudden loss of a long-term client? Absolutely, Gretchen. We had a few people in that situation. We also had a few people who didn't realize how dependent they are on a single or two clients. And the whole effort in the boot camp was to diversify and help you find a portfolio that has low risk, high risk type of offers, so that you can diversify a lot. I understand that very well. Long time ago, 2012 to 2013, I had a client who slowly creeped into my portfolio and became responsible for 90% of our revenue, which made me very vulnerable, which meant I could no longer say no. Because if you have a client who is 90% of your revenues and you have a kid who haven't even made it to college, you need to keep working. That was a very high risk environment for me. I couldn't quit because I had no alternative. I was feeling like I was in prison, even though I had this fancy client. But the reality is I was imprisoned by this contract. So it was a conscious choice to diversify the portfolio and learn how to slowly get off the edge and have no more than 50% of our revenue ever dependent on one client. So absolutely, Gretchen, this would be very, very important. Let's see what else. Yes, so you get all the access to all the recording. I'm glad that this resonated. I answered when the program begins, February 24th. Let's see what else. Beautiful to see that you are coming. Oh, our alumni came and said nice things about the program. This always happens, and we sound like a complete cult, guys. This is just so sweet when our alumni show up and start saying nice things about the programs. Love it. Thank you. I'm just going through the chat. If you have more questions, put it in chat. If you want to discuss any of the trends, put it in the chat. If you have anything else that you want to discuss, that would be great. Other than that, we would be there. Christina, about the safer community than the Telegram, we actually tested everything. WhatsApp feels equally unsafe because it's owned by Facebook. Telegram, equally unsafe. No other places are. I'm on WeChat because I will be with a client in China next week, flying on Thursday. So I am in this place on safety, on privacy. There is no privacy anymore and there is no safety. This is what I decided for myself. And I'm going to go crazy trying to pretend that any of this is private or safe. Just entering China border, it's my first time entering China, and I had to provide my passport for the entry. They need passport for restaurant reservations. If you're a foreigner, they need passport for everything. My passport is everywhere now, guys. I'm officially off the idea that I can stay private and safe. So we've tested private communities. Nobody enters them. So you have custom-made private communities. The problem is we forget to enter. If it's not in our phone when we're already present, which is essentially WhatsApp and Telegram, and our feeling was WhatsApp was actually voted down because it's Facebook related compared to Telegram, which is not even clear. Is it really Russian KGB or not? We don't know. So, okay. So no, we will be on Telegram for sure. You can stay off. You don't need to be there. Nothing isn't communicated there that is not communicated in email, but it's definitely a disadvantage just for fun's sake. There's a whole bunch of discussions, people there jump in and share what's going on just from that point of view. Great session. I see the numbers. Give me any more feedback, any additional trends in consulting. Loved seeing you all. Would love to see you in Unignorable. Love seeing all of you. Amazing thing. Love seeing all of you, our fellow graduates. You've been wonderful through the years. We are officially through first million touched through Reinvention Academy, and a lot of it is in your hands because you are teaching people, you are serving people. This is absolutely beautiful. And that is so, so amazing that you're coming your way. So you have more questions, put them in a chat. You are happy with questions, say goodbye. I will keep answering for another few minutes as we still have something here. So first, Asim would like to get more info on the return on investment. The program is about $800, right? 700 something, 790. And we had much more than 50%. I don't remember what percentage of people who increased their fees by at least 10%. That means that majority of you, even with a 10% increase, will be able to get the money back within a very short period of time. Our goal is at least 6 months, that you get your money back within 6 months and your return on investment is full. But we had people who got return on investment in the first 2 weeks and then some. So we had people who increased their fees by 50%, as I shared. Many of them share that on the website. We will do that, and we will also share a little bit more stories in the email with you on what happens. But the number one return on investment, which is quick, is increasing your fees. In the way you change and adapt your fee structure, are you hourly? Are you success fee based? Are you retainer? All of that. So that's number one return on investment. But on top of that, many people develop new products. They were not sure what to offer, and we showed them a buffet of options, and it was easy to find their own product portfolio. We are big advocates of multiple product streams because you need different revenue streams. Very low cost, low risk versus high cost. We have a debate around that with you, and we put you in small groups, and your colleagues also debate your product portfolio with you. So big return on investment is product reinvention, but it takes a little bit longer than a few weeks. So the instantaneous return on investment is the increased fees. The longer, but also serving you longer, is product reinvention, and then even longer is reputation, brand positioning reinvention. But that is a slow build. So your positioning on social, your positioning in terms of your communication about yourself, what do you put in your email signature, what do you put on your LinkedIn, and so on. So our job is to give you very short-lived and very immediate, not exactly short-lived, but very immediate return on investment, but also build a pipeline for more longer returns of investment. I hope I answered that question. Does the bootcamp suggest ways to glad Asim says it answers. Great. Does the bootcamp suggest ways to increase customers, global customers, and applying to tender opportunities? We do not teach tender opportunities. We actually have a lot of debates to tender or not to tender. So we do not teach specifics on the tender applications and so on. But we do share quite a lot on our customer acquisition. And especially Gary has a framework around that, and thinking about the entirety of the customer journey, not just the moment of closing the sale. Ula says, as a part of my job, I have education budget. They required that the third party will pay for it. Absolutely, Ula. One of our team members, Veronica, Darina, let's see, whoever can give your email to Ula, and then one of our team members will work with you on how to contract. Of course, guys, if you cannot enroll with a credit card and you need to pay with a bank transfer because you want to this is a corporate budget or some other reason, just email us, guys, our team. If you can put in the email, Veronica just did. If you can put any other emails, requests, borrow Veronica's email. She's our chief operating officer, so she will get it in the hands of the right person in case you need it. How can you create a basic product offering with having nothing now? The question is, what do you do the most? We have a framework that I love, the Hedgehog principle. What do you love to do the most? What do you do the best? And what pays? And I would spend a little bit of time working on that as your homework after this masterclass. So write everything you do well. Write everything you love. And write everything that pays. And see if there's anything at the intersection of those three areas. So that will be your starting assumptions. After that, of course, high quality jobs to be done, interviews that we teach, testing your business ideas with real customers and so on. But I would start with that exercise. Great. Asim says, do we have a physical office Teams presence in North America? I live in North America, in Columbus, Ohio. We do not physically rent an office. We have 2 offices in our home. And we do rent a lot of different offices. So sometimes it's co-working office, sometimes it's hotel. We have a couple of clients who give us offices, and we haven't had a need for an office yet. But I have some partners who love offices and they rent an office. We're based of Columbus, Ohio. Christina, I'm so happy that this was relevant and a lot of substance. Yay! This is what we want to hear. This is amazing. This is the kind of feedback we want. Now, those of you who are on the fence, couple of reminders. Number 1, this is 14 days money back guarantee. So you have first 2 weeks essentially free, and then you can jump off. I suggest if you're on the fence, you jump in, because those who enroll in the next 24 hours will be able to get our AI masterclass as a bonus. So this is a perfect opportunity to snatch that bonus, try for 2 weeks, first 2 weeks of the program for free. If you decide to return, we send you your money back, no questions asked, no bad feelings. It happens so rarely that we kind of celebrate those, because it means people are feeling good about their choices, but also feeling safe enough to ask us to return. So this is so important for us, that you know that there's a money back guarantee. But if that is not enough, and again, the reminder, reinvention is not a project. It's not an event. It's a skill. We want to build that skill with you. That means continuous investment in yourself. If it's not enough what you got today, next week on Tuesday, we have another webinar coming up, and it will not be my webinar. And Christina, thank you so much for the best feedback that you're sharing, that you bow to the volume of substance. Believe that it will be substance, that will allow us to compete. Thank you, Christina. I really appreciate your feedback. If this is not enough and you are on the fence, come and hear alumni stories, their cases. What do they sell? How do they position? How do they deal with these big challenges that I shared today? How were they able to reinvent their consulting business? So Gary will be there with our alumni. I think Farhad is coming from United Arab Emirates. I think somebody is gonna had a case from US, and somebody will have a case from Africa, I think, but I don't remember. My brain is fried lately. So you absolutely can jump into February 18th webinar and get completely different continuation of the story. With this, again, thank you so much for joining. I appreciate so much all your lovely words about the insights and the substance and all the beautiful feedback you are giving. This is so amazing. We are having only one cohort this spring. We might repeat it in the fall. We don't have a plan yet, but we have no extended programs planned until September, October. I would say October 2025. So this is our last big program. Big hugs to all of you. Jump in 24 hours for the big AI masterclass bonus and one more big webinar next Tuesday. Keep in touch. Big hugs. Bye, everyone.